Good morning and welcome along to yet another MotoGP team presentation. What a week we've got in store with you. No fewer than 4 MotoGP teams officially getting their 2024 campaign underway, and it starts with the Red Bull KTM Factory Racing Squad. A big show in store for you. We're going to be chatting live to former MotoGP race winner Christopher Mewlen. We'll be also speaking to Jack Miller, Brad Binder, Francesco Guidotti as well, all live over the next hour and a bit, so don't go anywhere. Of course, alongside that as well, we're going to be showing you the brand new livery for the Orange Army in 2024. Will we see a slight difference? I'm not too confident, but anyway, let's see. Who knows? Maybe Pit Byra and the Austrians have got a trick up their sleeve. So we told you it's a big week. Here's exactly what is going to be coming your way over the next 6 of them all done and dusted, which means we've got 5 left. 4 of them are going to be coming across over the next 7 days or so. Are we going to see that calendar? Let's have a look. Of course, we know that today is going to be the Red Bull KTM Factory Racing one. There we go. Then tomorrow, a long show, a big show, the Repsol Honda launch with Luca Marini and Joe and Mia. On Thursday, opportunity for us to officially kick off LCR Honda, the Idemitsu squad, and then the Castrol squad as well, with Taka Nakagami and Johan Zarco. And then on Sunday, just ahead of the 2-day Qatar test, the final 2 days of action before the season getting underway, is the Aprilia Racing launch with Alessio Spargaro and Maverick Vinales. Elliot York in the hot seat for that one. I'm going to be on my way to Qatar for some secret filming. Can't tell you too much about that, but definitely worth waiting for. But our focus is the Orange Army today. As you can see, we've changed our background to the familiar orange, which can only mean one thing in MotoGP, and that is KTM. A big, big year in store for them. Now, winless in a Grand Prix for 18 months, it feels as though they have to hit the ground running in 2024 from the Sepang test, which we will be analysing in a little bit more detail later on in the show. Once again, it feels as though they are the closest competitors to Ducati. So let's see what the key men to do with the Austrian factory make of their chances in 2024. This is what's coming up then. In around 5 minutes' time, we'll be connecting live to Australia to speak with Christopher Mewlen and hear the thoughts of Chris on what a big year in store it is for Jack Miller. Of course, he is one of a number of riders out there whose contracts do come to an end at the close of 2024. His teammate Brad Binder locked in for another 2 years, but given the performances of Pedro Acosta already, there's already a lot of speculation with regards to Jack after an up and down year. What can he do this year? Then the live livery reveal will be coming your way at 10 o'clock, so 25 minutes time. Don't go anywhere for that. As soon as that's done, we'll have a quick chat with Chris. Also, we've got Jack Gorst with us as well, who may well jump in just to analyse what we saw at the Sepang test. He's made his way back from Malaysia. And then we'll round things off with live interviews. To Jack, who's back in Australia now. He's flown home from Sepang. Brad Binder will be hearing from at 22:11, and then we'll finish things off by speaking to the ever bubbly Francesco Guidotti. Always has a nice headline to throw our way, does Francesco. Looking forward to chatting to him later on in the show in around an hour and 15 minutes time. Now, as ever, of course, you guys, if you've been joining us for most of these team presentations, you know by now that we'd like to hear from you, where you're listening from, where you're watching from, what your thoughts are, not only for KTM, but for the upcoming season as well. Now that we've had the 3-day Sepang test, what were the big headlines that came away from it for you? Make sure that you put it in the chat, whether you're watching on YouTube, on Twitch, on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever it may be. We're across all of them. We've got our BDI across all of our social media platforms, and we'll be picking out the best of them and putting them live on the show. So that's your opportunity. Another opportunity for you as well to get your tickets for the start of the MotoGP season. Not long to wait now. We are less than a month away from the lights turning on in Qatar and then going out in Qatar for the start of the season. On the 9th of March is the first Tissot Sprint. On the 10th of March is the first Grand Prix of the year. And then as we go throughout the season as well, make sure you check out MotoGP.tickets.com. There's a few discounts out there as well to be able to make sure you get them locked in before the season gets underway. I've said it before, but let's make 2024 the year of the bucket list trip. Tick off some big adventures over to Asia, wherever it may be. At least one round this year. Do join us, because the storylines that we've seen from Sepang are not to be missed. Right, it is time for the Red Bull KTM factory racing launch. Looking forward to this one, because as I've said, big hopes and expectations for the Austrians coming into this new year. Have invested a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort, have been very clever, not only in the rider market, but in terms of that engineer market as well, in bringing a lot of brains across from their chief rivals in Ducati. They've implemented that over the past couple of years. We saw that last year in the arms race, if we can call it, whether it comes to aerodynamics, with the partnership that they have with Red Bull Technologies and Red Bull's Formula One team, whether it be that carbon chassis as well. They're trying to take big steps towards taking the fight and eventually beating Ducati. So is this the year that they can do it? Let's find out your thoughts, because our first poll of the morning is officially launched now, and it's an easy one. Can KTM fight for the World Championship in 2024? Let us know in the chat. A for yes, or you can just put yes. B for no. Similarly, you can just put no as well. From what we saw in Sepang, as I said, a little bit of Ducati domination once again. Looking at those top three places, all three men that were there, of course, Franco Morbidelli continuing his recovery, but the three men on the brand new 2024 Ducati occupied first, second and third. Pretty ominous reading for the rest of the factories. But KTM were pretty close, not only with Brad Binder, but with Pedro Acosta as well. Jack Miller not a million miles away, so it does look as though of the four MotoGP factories that are trying to chase down Ducati and take that Constructors' Championship away from them, KTM best placed to be able to do it. Or at least that's my opinion, but who wants to listen to my opinion? Why don't we listen to the opinion of this man? Of course, a former MotoGP race winner. Great to be able to catch up with him every year when we go down to Phillip Island. And this is a bit of a special one, Chris, because not often do we get the opportunity to chat before we get to the island. So great to see you. How are you? Excited for the new year to get underway, I imagine? Looks though just a couple of audio problems with Chris at the moment. We'll get them sorted and we'll get back to him and be able to get his thoughts. We had it all okay earlier. The beauty of technology. 10 minutes ago it worked absolutely fine. As soon as we go live it doesn't work. The joys of trying to do a live production. But anyway, we'll get that sorted and Chris will be back with us in a couple of moments time. And one of the key things that we want to talk to him about is, of course, what Jack Miller can do this year. A huge fan favourite for obvious reasons. Arguably the biggest personality on the MotoGP grid. So likeable, and I know a lot of people out there are wanting to see him do big things this year. It started so promisingly. He made that big step across from Ducati, of course, at the start of last year. And who can forget that Jerez Grand Prix? Who can forget the opening round of the year when he was able to end the opening day of the year fastest and then could take the fight to the Ducatis in that opening sprint of the year. He had a great round at Jerez, and then for a couple of reasons it managed to fade away during the middle part of the season, but hopefully he'd found his feet again. We've got Chris back with us. All okay? Have we got you now?
Hey, well, I'm down under in Australia. Our internet isn't very good, Jack, so bear with me. Like, I could hear you clear as day, but like you say, I'm lucky I could ride motorbikes reasonably quick because I'm not very good at this tech stuff. But we're on now, we're sorted, and no, great to speak to you. And like I said, we only sort of see each other once a year. Sometimes I come to Europe, but we're a long way, on the other side of the world down here. So it's great to be involved with the sport still, and great to see these launches. Looking forward to what KTM can do, like you said before.
Yeah, it's great to hear you now, of course. That's good that we've got it sorted. And as we were saying, I'm sure a lot of people down under have got high hopes, big expectations for Jack having another breakout year, can we say. As I was just saying then, it started so well, did 2023, and then for various reasons just lost his way for for one reason or another. But are you confident he can rediscover that form that he had at the start of last year and really take the fight to Ducati alongside Brad?
Look, he's very focused. He's been training as hard as I've ever seen Jack train. He's always been a sort of a bit of a party boy, hasn't he? And just relied on his talent. And I think that got him a long way. And I've got to be honest, when he stepped away from that factory Ducati ride at the end of 22, or didn't get it renewed, and went to KTM, I thought this is going to be a bit of a struggle for Jack. I don't think it's going to be fantastic. But I mean, he's did a great job at the start of 23, and a couple of times challenging for the podium. He stood on the podium in a sprint race, I believe. Really pushed Brad Binder, and I think he really helped the development of the bike in the early stage. But like you say, the end of last year, it wasn't fantastic for Jack Miller. And being an Aussie, we're cheering the Aussies on for sure. So it wasn't a great end to the season. But what I really liked is the team support is still right behind him. Francesco Giordotti said, we had no reason to think of ever getting rid of Jack. He's been really helpful for the team. He's bringing the whole team forward, not only himself. He helps Brad. So let's hope Jack can find his own form and get his own results, because we need an Aussie up there. We've had him in the past, and we still want one that's fast. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was interesting, and I fully agree with you as well, in that a lot of people thought that it was going to be a tricky jump across from Ducati, which is without doubt the best bike on the grid. And I think what surprised a lot of people was not only Jack's ability to jump on the bike and adapt quickly, but how working with Jack and his crew chief that came across from Ducati were able to really take the KTM to the next level. I'm not sure a lot of people thought that Jack had that in him to be able to develop the bike as well as he did do, which has proven he's a huge asset to the factory now.
Oh, completely. And let's face it, we see it from the outside. The Ducati looks like the best package, and they've got the most motorcycles on the grid, and they've won the World Championship the last 2 years in a row with a fantastic rider as well, and Jack's teammate one of those years. But we thought the KTM was definitely a step behind. But I think, like you say, Jack and the crew that came with him and the information that came with him from Ducati, it proved that maybe the KTM isn't that far behind. And what I like about is their development and their sort of own way of going. You touched on it before, Jack, with the carbon fiber chassis, what they do with the aerodynamics. They're really pushing this. And I remember when KTM first came into MotoGP, and it was a big call. They said they wanted to beat Honda. It was the big H. Honda was the guy to beat. Marc Marquez was the one to beat. And Pit Byra said something like, in 5 years, we want to beat Honda. Well, they're beating Honda now. Let's face it, Honda's not a great package, but they've got someone else at the top to challenge. But they've got two great riders on them. And I know it's not KTM, it's Gas. It's more or less the same thing, but it's going to be exciting with Pedro Acosta there next year. Augusto Fernandez, second year on the bike. I mean, he had some really good races last year as well. And if those guys get what the factory KTMs have got, I think it'll push the whole factory forward as well.
73% of you at home thinking that KTM can fight for the World Championship this year. Do you agree with that? A sort of 75-25 split? I think that's about right for me in terms of what we've seen at Sepang and at the end of last year.
Yep, 100%. I'm with that. I think they can. And I really think what is going to be a spanner in Ducati's works could be Marc Marquez. I reckon things are not going to flow as well for Ducati, or maybe not be as plain sailing. I think the dynamic in the whole company might be a little bit different, and that might allow some of the other manufacturers to really challenge. I mean, this guy on screen, Brad Binder, what a sensation. Who doesn't like Brad Binder? The guy digs in. It doesn't matter if he's starting on the 5th or 6th row of the grid. You can't write him off for a race. If he gets a good start and he gets in there, he does not give up. Just a terrier. And his riding style, what I really like is Ducati's technology, especially Aprilia, probably a little bit as well. It's really sort of taken away from, or looks like it's taking away from the rider, and it's what the bike can do. Where KTM have sort of allowed the riders to express themselves a bit. And I mean, Brad and Jack, they're both a little bit sideways, and it looks good. It's exciting, and that's why we love MotoGP, because it is exciting, and these things are animals to ride, and you can see it when these guys are riding them. They're animals, and they're not easy, and it's hard work, and that's what we want to see as well. So I really like what KTM have done from that side as well.
If you guys at home have got any questions for Chris, by the way, make sure you put them in the chat, and we'll try not to make them too difficult, but we'll fire them your way. On Brad, as you say, he's so entertaining to watch, and somehow went throughout the course of last year without winning a Grand Prix. How much is that going to be playing on his mind? And if he is to be a World Championship contender this year, how quickly does he have to break that duck at the start of the year?
Look, you just want to win races, and I think. Look, I won a world championship in Supersport, like a very different category to MotoGP, but still a world championship, and it's putting a whole season together. I think you can't think about the championship at any point. And I've won them and I've lost. I've been runner-up in World Superbike as well, And I don't think at any time I focused on the championship. It's each weekend, what we can get out of the bike, what we can get out of myself, where we can improve, and go for it. And then just try and beat everyone else on track. You can't work out where everyone else is going to finish and how that's going to affect you. So Brad wants to win races. He's a racer. He's been Moto3 world champion. He's challenged in Moto2. He's proven he's got the speed. He'll want to stand on that top step again. And more so than being a champion, put him in the championship contention, just to be, a race winner and consistently there pushing the guys week in, week out. I think that's more important for him right now. And MotoGP is so long. 21, 22 races with the sprint races as well. I mean, these guys are just, it's hard work for them to get a whole season together. So I really think they just need to focus on the session they're in, the weekend they're at, and how to get the most out of what they're doing. And I'm sure all these guys do that, definitely.
I spoke to Francesco Guidotti a couple of weeks ago, and he said that the biggest thing for Brad last year was the amount that he learned just from consistently being at the front and fighting the likes of Bagnaia, Martin, Bezzecchi, whoever it is, week in, week out. For you, could you just sort of talk us through the big things in terms of whether it's managing the race, those last couple of laps when you're right in the midst of fighting for the win, the difference between being in that top three to sort of fighting for the top five, top six, say?
Well, it's a different level of rider. Generally, those top couple of guys are going to be the top couple of guys every weekend. And he mentioned those riders. And I think that's what brought Martin on as well this year. He sort of got himself into a position to be able to ride with Bagnaia consistently, to ride at the front. And that's very different. Even though the guy in 10th place, trust me, is not slow, but it's a little bit different. Those guys are just battling for points, where at the front, they're managing situations, they're managing the races, they're managing the tires, like you said, and able to get the speed out of the bikes and when they need it. And I'm sure Brad did learn a lot, because that's one thing with these MotoGP bikes. People think you're riding them flat out. Well, you sort of are in a way, but you might be managing tires, you might be managing fuel, you might be managing brake temperature, and these guys have got a lot more to manage with the, front tire temperatures go up because of the aerodynamics and where to sit in the slipstream. And all of those little things can make a massive difference come the end of the race. So there's a lot to be thinking about. They're adjusting electronics while they're riding as well, their engine brake control, their traction control settings, maybe the engine output. So being able to manage all that while you're doing 350 kilometers an hour and you're sitting half a meter from the guy in front of you and working out what he's going to be doing and thinking it's getting all become second nature, so you can get them, is what they need to do. So you have to race with your championship rivals if you want to battle those guys for the championship, for sure.
A big year for many reasons, not only in terms of who's going to win the World Championship this year. In fact, quickly, I was going to ask about this, so I'm glad that Rizal has got this question in. Your opinion on Pedro Acosta, of course, part of the Gas team, but a part of the KTM family, shall we say. Linked to this, my question was going to be, already he's hit the ground running as Pedro Acosta, 6 days in Sepang that have blown everyone his way. He went faster than the official lap record in only his 7th day riding a MotoGP bike. And with that, already comes a lot of speculation of whether he is going to be moving up to the factory team next year. Just your thoughts on Pedro and how impressive that performance was in Sepang, but on the same side as well, what that is going to be like for Jack going into this year, where we've not even turned a wheel in anger yet. We've not even had the first Grand Prix and already people are speculating about his future. What's it like to ride with that pressure and that speculation hanging over your head?
Yeah, and it's even worse these days because of social media. When I rode, there was none of that. So you'd have to wait till Wednesday and the motorcycle newspaper came out or whatever to know what everyone was talking about. But it is a little bit different, and there is that pressure, and it even if you don't watch it or listen to it, it's got to be in the back of your mind. But so hopefully, Jack can just do his own job and focus and prove he deserves a spot in that team or with another great team. But Pedro Acosta, I mean, it was outstanding. He got on the bike in Valencia. Valencia is a very different track to ride a MotoGP bike. Through a big majority of the circuit, it probably feels slower than a Moto2 bike because they're heavier, they've got more inertia, they don't want to turn that well. You've got a fast straight and you've got to get used to the braking and how the carbon brakes work. But to go to Sepang, where the speed is very high on a lot of straights, to work out your braking area, these things are doing, like I said, 340 k's an hour there. To manage the tires. I mean, there's some really fast corners, accelerating out of them. It's a hard track to go fast on one of these bikes. And what was impressive, his first day out, he was a few tenths off Danny Pedrosa. And let's face it, he's not slow. He's never been slow. And then to be at the end of the test, one of the guys at the top, you're talking about, the current world champion in Bagnaia. We're talking about Marc Marquez, who did a fantastic lap. All these Ducatis, Brad Binder was up there, but this young rookie that's had very few days on the motorcycle, that's talent. That's pure talent. And the name comes up under the screen. It's a Marquez, it's a stoner, somebody that can just get on a motorcycle, any motorcycle, and ride it very, very fast. And you've got to put Pedro in that category. He's got to be able to deal with everything else. And let's see how he does that, whether he'll win a championship. But he's definitely going to be fast this year.
It's a big comparison, but Simon Crafar, who was there on site for us, said through the turn 3, the long sweeping right-hander at Sepang,
yep.
Already Simon was saying that Acosta was stoner-esque in the manner in which he was able to get the thing spinning and sliding through. Of course, Kiefer Clark wanting to know, you and Casey still hang out much? I saw that, was it last year or the year before, you had the ride to Phillip Island, which looked like a fun day out.
It was a fun day out. That was managed by the Grand Prix Corporation here in Australia that ran the race for Phillip Island, and yeah, it was really good to be able to do that. Look, we do hang out a little bit away from the track too. We live only about 2 hours away, which in Australian terms is almost a neighbour. So we're pretty not far from each other. We ride dirt bikes a little bit together, do a few charity lunches here and there. We've both got 2 daughters. Our wives have known each other for 15 years while we're traveling around the world together. So we do get on pretty well. We're not best mates that see each other every week, but see each other a few times a year and always try and get out. He's still fast on any motorcycle, anything with 2 wheels, loves his golf. He's always hard to catch, whether it's enduro riding or riding his mini bikes in his backyard or whatever. But but like you said, on the track, I can imagine Pedro Acosta, his riding style, if he could be able to manage a rear wheel like Casey Stoner did, that's going to be very impressive. Because I can tell you, Valentino Rossi had trouble with it. Jorge Lorenzo had trouble with it. I couldn't see which way he went either. So it's if he can do something like that in the future, or emulate some of the things that Casey did, he's going to be very, very hard to beat.
Halfway there, you would imagine, if he can ride a bike close to what Casey was able to do. Chris, absolute pleasure to be able to chat with you and get your thoughts ahead of the new season. Fingers crossed that whether it's Jack, whether it's Senna in Moto2 or Joel in Moto3, there's an opportunity to see the Australian flag flying high this year.
Thanks very much, Jack. We're fingers crossed for all the Aussies, and we've got some bright talents coming through the Australian Championship as well. So keep an eye out. But good luck, Jack Miller. We want to see some more podiums in MotoGP.
Top man. Looking forward to catching up in Phillip Island later in the year. Speak to you soon.
Good on you. Thanks, mate.
Great to be able to chat away with Chris there and get his thoughts. And how could I forget Jacob Rulston as well, of course, who moves up into the Moto3 World Championship this year. A young, exciting Australian prospect. One to keep an eye on for the future. As ever, we gave you guys the opportunity at home to pose your questions to both Jack and Brad via our Instagram stories. Make sure you keep a close eye on that. I believe we're going to be putting up the Instagram story for either LCR Honda on Thursday or for the Aprilia Racing launch on Sunday later on this week. So keep a close eye on that. Last last week we put up an Instagram story for your questions for Jack and Brad, and these are the ones that have been selected.
Hi Brad, it's Alexandra from South Africa. And besides MotoGP, what is your favorite sport?
Hello, I'm Michelle from Indonesia. I have a question for both of you, Fred and Jack. What is your favorite meal to eat after winning the race? Thank you for answering.
Hi, my name is Lautaro, and my question for Brad and Jack is, what song do you listen before a race? Thank you.
Some very good questions there. Thank you to all three of you guys for putting your questions to Jack and Brad. I'll be throwing them their way very soon indeed, once we've had the team presentation. If you're just joining us at the launch, the livery revealed for the Red Bull KTM Factory Racing Squad just under 5 minutes away. And then from 10:30, we'll have the opportunity to speak to the key players at KTM. Jack first, then Brad, and then Francesco Guidotti. So don't go anywhere. Coming up, the MotoGP World Championship then, 9th and 10th of March, as I've said earlier in the show. Make sure that is in your diary. And if you want unrivaled access, if you want the best seats in the house, as it says there, join us on track. Literally, you'll get the opportunity to be on track and experience MotoGP like never before. Then check out motogppremier.motogp.com. As I said, 2024, it's the year of the bucket list trips. If you're going to do it, make sure you do it right and do it with MotoGP Premier. As ever, you guys are getting in touch. Lots of comments streaming through on the chat. Are we going to check out what you guys have been saying just before we head to the team presentation in around 3 minutes' time? Looking forward to this one, actually. From what I've seen at the team gear in Sepang, I don't know whether it's a slightly different shade of orange, maybe a little bit darker, a little bit brighter. It looked ever so slightly different anyway, so I've got high hopes that there's enough of a change. Of course, the Red Bull KTM factory lineup, the livery is a pretty popular one at this stage, and a pretty famous one as well. You definitely know when they're out on track. So as a result, if it isn't broke, don't fix it, which has been the mantra for the Austrians over recent years. So don't be expecting a huge overhaul, but we may well have a slight touch here and there, which is always nice to pick apart and see what they've done exactly. So Matt the Mad Botanist has been getting in touch once again. Great to hear from you, Matt. Not for championship, he feels, but they will have podiums and wins this year for sure. Well, they had plenty of podiums, they had plenty of sprint wins courtesy of Brad Binder, but no Grand Prix victories in 2023, so they'll be hoping to rectify that. I feel that they are going to be the closest contenders, or certainly from what we saw at Sepang, to Ducati this year, but definitely looks as though the status quo within MotoGP after those first 3 days, very early of course, things can change, but it looks as though everyone has been able to take a relative step forward, some slightly better than others, but it doesn't seem as though that there has been that much of a power shift at this early stage. Any other comments have been firing through? Let's just see who else has been getting in touch. Have we got any more, boys? No? Okay. Looks as though we're just waiting for you guys to get in touch. So whilst we get that sorted and we get those problems fixed, we can show more of your comments firing through. Yeah, let's just talk through what we did see at Sepang. Jack Gorst, who was there, of course, as part of the After the Flag show, will be joining us once the presentation is done in around 10 minutes' time. And as we said, it was Pecco Bagnaia fastest, ahead of Jorge Martin and Enea Bastianini, with that rivalry renewed between Bagnaia and Martin. Ridiculous, the fact that the top four riders were all able to break the 157 barrier. The 156, a lap time that was completely and utterly unthinkable up until, a week or so ago. I mean, there was no real point in thinking that was going to be the case whatsoever as we get close to officially being able to launch this presentation. Looking at the clock now, we're now 30 seconds away from showing the video in full. So once we've done the team presentation and shown you the brand new livery, we'll welcome Jack Gorst to talk in more detail about the Sepang test. But yeah, as I was saying, definitely Ducati in the strongest position, but KTM having two riders inside the top 10, courtesy of Brad Binder, who was able to improve late on the final day of the test, and Pedro Acosta, who did impress. Yes, I know some people will be saying he had the opportunity to have the shakedown as well, 3 more days. But still, he was able to go out there and put the lap together, which is impressive. So, 10 o'clock has struck. Are we able to see the livery, or are we a little bit laced? Okay, let's welcome in Jack Gorsten. Before we go to the livery, it looks as though a couple of technical problems that we do have to work our way through at the moment, so we are going to delay, unfortunately, showing you the live, brand new 2024 Red Bull KTM livery. So, as a result, we'll wait on for that. Jack, how are you?
I'm
Back
good.
from
How are
Malaysia?
you?
All good?
Yeah, very good. It was an enjoyable trip, of course. Very interesting times to be able to see what's going on track so far already. I think one of the most interesting things, as you alluded to there with Chris Vermeulen, was about Pedro Acosta. The pressure he's going to put on the KTM riders, but also KTM themselves. They look all right. They look pretty good. And they're not fully there yet with piecing the bike all together. So hopefully there's a little bit more to come from them.
Absolutely. You feel with KTM, it was one where last year it was a real overhaul, a complete revolution, whereas this year, small steps in the right direction to close that gap to Ducati. And as a result, the amount of hardware, the amount of different parts that KTM bring, you can never truly know what their true level is until we get to round 1.
Yeah, exactly. I think the other thing as well is Jack Miller is very much a racing rider. Testing is one thing, but when you go racing, we saw like last year, he found a second once he just clicked into race mode in Portimao. And Brad Binder is usually the same. He's always quick, as he has been in Sepang so far. But I think there's still some stuff to come.
Right, okay, let's go for it then. The 2024 Red Bull KTM Factory Racing presentation. Here's the brand new livery, guys. Enjoy.
I am high speed.
I am extreme.
I am radical.
I am adrenaline.
I am performance. Racing's been my entire life. That's all I've ever really loved and enjoyed. I really enjoyed the whole process of what I do. Just keep that never-ending improvement going. For me, it's an absolute way of life.
Dealing with the fastest is all a part of it. I've been dealing with it my whole career. I think having that backing from a company is awesome. When it comes down to can he still do it, because the amount of times people have said I can't, and then I've been able to prove them wrong, is more often than not. The end of 2023 left me so hungry to come back and try and achieve that goal that I set last year.
It's going to be my 10th season. I've been racing for Red Bull KTM Factory Racing. For me, it's awesome to be starting 2024, and I'm looking forward to getting back on the bike.
Brad is doing an amazing job being so many years with us, getting better every day. Jack came to our team, made us better.
I think next to the motorcycle, the biggest progress we made in the team structures.
To be honest, I can't wait for the first race. It's time to deliver.
I am high speed.
I am uncompromising.
I am disruptive.
I am state of the art.
We are Red Bull KTM Factory Racing. We are ready to race.
Well, they might be high speeds, they might be uncompromising, they might be adrenaline. Will they be world champions?
Oh, that's a loaded question. You don't want to say no, because anything can ever happen in MotoGP, but I think at the minute they've got a bit of a mountain to climb if they want to beat Ducati. We saw the pace that Ducati had there at the Sepang test, and okay, it's testing. There's lots and lots of rubber on the ground. The lap times are always going to be a bit quicker in testing, but just the step forward that Ducati have made. It seems like every manufacturer is constantly like, it's that game of 2 steps forwards and 1 step back, and that step back is Ducati again moving the goalpost. Will they be world champion? That's really, really tough. I'm gonna have to say no. Well, you never know.
Exactly. We'll have to wait and see. Stranger things have happened, but you rightly say, Ducati in the strong seat at the moment, but KTM definitely making huge advancements, and you feel as though they're not too far away at the moment, but can they close that gap? We'll have to wait and see. Let's talk the livery then. It's the same, guys. Let's be honest. It's exactly the same as last year, but as we said earlier, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. It's one of the most famous, most iconic liveries on the grids now. Pretty much unchanged since they moved up into the MotoGP World Championship for the very first time. So, not a question of whether it's new or not. If you liked last year, you'll like this year's. And it looks as though good news for everyone. The early indicators are that people liked the Red Bull KTM Factory Racing livery in 2023, which means that they like it in 2024. 82% of you at home, big fans of that striking orange livery. It is one of the most iconic ones on the grid now.
Exactly, you can't argue with that. The Red Bull colourway with the bright orange and the blue at KTM, it's a beautiful looking bike. It always has been, always will be. Hopefully they don't really change it too much in the next however many years. You know, I'm sure it will stay true to that mold that they've already had now ever since coming in, but you never know, maybe in a few years they might change it somewhat. But I think even if they change it anyway, as long as they keep those colours, it's going to look good whatever they do.
Potentially. Always difficult to see in those short, sharp launch videos where there's a lot going on, the dynamic, to really get a good look at the bike. We're only just sort of having a glancing view at it. So this will give us an opportunity to maybe see a little bit more in detail. And from first indicators, looks as though it's what we're used to, which, to be fair, is what I like as well.
Yeah.
I'm not good with change, so it's nice to be able to work with what we know. Of course, the bike itself certainly has changed, maybe not the livery, but in appearance in the space of 12 months, 18 months, whether it's that carbon chassis where you feel have got the jump on every other manufacturer, and whether it's aerodynamics as well. That partnership with Red Bull Technologies certainly proving fruitful as well, with some huge steps forward in terms of that rear wing on the rear attachment on the seat as well. That's not what they're going to be running this year, we understand. That's what they had during the back end of last year. They are definitely investing a lot of money in trying to close that gap, and hopefully that all of the add-ons and the new items that they're bringing are going to work, because at Sepang, I mean, your notebook must have been filled with the amount of different things that were rolling out of the box.
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously they were doing a lot of work with the carbon chassis. I presume that carbon chassis has been updated too, because of course, you know, it was only a first iteration of essentially what is a new technology for MotoGP. We've seen carbon chassis before, but not to the success and the extent that KTM are now doing it with their carbon frame on the RC16. So you can imagine that's been updated, tweaked slightly just to make it work a little bit better. And of course, then all the aero stuff. We know that they're doing tons and tons of work with electronics as well. Exhaust, they were one big thing last year that Brad said he wanted was a little bit less wheel spin, not necessarily coming right out of the corner, but more when they get the bike stood up right and driving, then clicking through the gears is getting a bit too much wheel spin. I guess that's more to do with electronics, but they were doing a lot of work as well with those exhaust setups to really fine tune just how smooth and sweet that throttle connection is way down in the RPMs there. So, I mean, KTM, of course, they're taking big steps forwards all the time. And I think always well with KTM, when they try so many things, and I think this is largely as well because they do try so many things, it usually takes them just a couple of tests to get it all worked out, figure out in their head, and then the engineers go away and come back and pile together something that is the best of everything that they've tried. So I do think that now in the Qatar test going forward, we'll really see them kind of start to click in, and I think you'll see really, really strong lap times. Not that they're not doing them already. Brad particularly was doing really strong lap times, but I think in the Qatar test, when you go to watch them do their long runs, I think they'll start to really get in amongst it there with the top Ducatis.
Yeah, difficult to really understand what kind of pace they had, apart from over the one laps, which Brad Binder was able to fire in, because both Brad and Jack didn't do go out and do a sprint simulation like a lot of riders did. They were sort of in and out doing 3-4 lap runs.
Yeah, well, Brad did actually go out and try to do a long lap run, but he said they were kind of just rushing it at the end of the day, and it wasn't the perfect long run for them. But he said he wasn't too worried about it either, because he knows that already once they do that long run, it's going to be okay.
Nyasha, I mean, great that you're getting involved. Big fan of the fact that you're here watching us and interacting. But next time, let's change that profile photo, please. Come on, we can't be having F1 on MotoGP. I mean, Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, two very good-looking blokes. There's not... I've got no issue with that, but let's get a nice MotoGP one up there. I'm sure that as part of the KTM press packet, there's a lovely photo of Jack and Brad stood together looking handsome as well. So why don't you get that photo and stick that as your profile photo? She's saying, why change it if it's not bad? Absolutely go along with that one. Reverse Thursday saying it's a beautiful bike. Absolutely. A big fan favourite. No need to change that. It's polished now, it seems.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, they've done small tweaks over the last few years, and really they've just hit something that works. So
exactly.
No need to change.
They're sticking with it, and as you rightly say as well, good for brand recognition.
Yeah.
The fact that they use pretty much the same livery across all formats on two wheels, and of course KTM are pretty used to having their motorcycles up at the front end of whatever discipline, whether it's on the dirt, whether it's on the road, whatever it may be. There's normally an orange bike on the sharp end. Ooh. As we see this of Brad, a replay of what we saw earlier.
Oscar-worthy performances by them.
I know. I did enjoy the how they normally piece it together. It's Hollywood-esque from the KTM squad. Very different approaches in terms of team presentations, whether it's a big live event, which the Italians like to have the pomp and ceremony of that, whereas this, a 2-minute, in, out, done, dusted, very much an Austrian way of doing things.
Efficiency.
Exactly, which we're a fan of. Brad was speaking about the fact that he's had success wherever he's been, whether it's the Red Bull Rookies, whether it's Moto3, whether it's Moto2. Took a step last year.
Yeah, massively.
Was able to finish 4th in the World Championship. I'm sure, in the end, when he reflects on it over the winter months, was disappointed that he didn't finish inside the top 3, because there was an opportunity there with the injuries and the issues that Marco Bezzecchi had at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. But still, I'm sure learnt an awful lot from last year that he'll be hoping to implement now in 24.
I mean, as you know, you found out directly from Francesco Guidotti that he did learn an awful lot from being right at the front up there, pretty much all season last year. There's only a handful of races where he wasn't quite on that level of the top guys right up there, but did an incredible job last year. But I think without doubt he would have been massively frustrated. We know that Brad he's got this killer instinct. Brad has, for sure. He wants to be up there winning races, fighting for championships. I mean, he's done it in the past, and there's no reason why he can't go and do it this year. Just needs the bike under him to be able to take that next step and get him right to there. But I think without doubt he wouldn't have been happy, not at all, because for sure he had some really, really good points last year. You think to those string of races towards the end of the year in Thailand, example, where he was right up there with Pecco Bagnaia and Jorge Martin. But I think overall he would just be frustrated. I think he expects he can do more, and I think he expects that KTM can do more. And hopefully this year, that fusion of kind of unwillingness to just kind of roll over and let the same story happen again in 2024 will see him take that next step.
Yeah, you normally like to see a rider, a team, build momentum as you go throughout the year, and if they're not in championship contention, try and get that momentum and the ball rolling in the final rounds of the year. And you do feel as though there was a big opportunity missed for Brad and KTM at the back end of the year. Australia, not finishing on the podium there when he was in a prime position, missing out in Thailand, eventually finishing 3rd after the error of exceeding track limits. Of course, Valencia as well, a massive opportunity for both Brad and Jack. There was a real feeling that they let a lot get away from them in those final 5 or 6 rounds.
Absolutely. And of course, that Valencia mistake that Brad did on the Sunday while leading, I mean, he did that same mistake twice in the same weekend. Unfortunately, that wasn't the only time we saw Brad do the same mistake twice in a weekend last year. I mean, number one priority, like whatever it is, doesn't matter if it's bike performance or Brad's own performance, the first thing on his checklist for 24 is to cut out those mistakes. And if he can, I mean, how many points would Brad have given up last year just by small things like the track limits on the last lap, or that mistake in Valencia, or the mistakes, where else did he get done in track limits?
Assen.
Thailand and Assen. You know, there's a handful of points there that if maybe he had put all those things together, that is your third place in the championship.
Yep, and on the other side of the box as well, Jack in the launch video already confronting face on the fact that people have written him off plenty of times before, and that is just the motivation he needs. He loves for people to tell him that he can't do something, because more often than not, he goes out and proves them wrong and loves doing it as well.
I mean, when we've seen Jack have his very, very best rides in MotoGP, you think back to 21 in a ref. He'd come into the season with lots and lots of hype. I remember the pre-season testing that year, kind of Jack was like, wow, the Ducati guys, Jack is kind of the benchmark already in pre-season testing. Failed to deliver in those first few rounds and got really, really heavily criticised. And then bang, 21 in a ref, goes and wins. And then also backs it up with back-to-back wins there in France as well. And then even 22 when he rebounded in Japan after a string of 7 or 8 races where he really struggled, you know. And in 23 when he came out swinging at KTM and proved a lot of people wrong. He relishes it. He hates it. I think he does really hate it, but I think he relishes it too.
Yeah, it's a strange relationship he has with it, where you do feel that added fuel and the doubt from whether it be the media or the fans, whoever it may be, although, as I'm sure most people in any walk of life would like for everyone to be on board and be very positive and push them forward, it does work in his favour more often than not. Luigi, this bike is unique, and these guys ride them like no other riders on the grid. Every break in, the bike is sliding like butter, and it's amazing. He's absolutely right. Something that Chris picked up on with all of the advancements in aero, in electronics, in all the steps forward that MotoGP machines have made in the past 3 years. You do feel at the moment the KTM is the bike whereby the rider has the most feel in their right hand, has the most control, and is able to work it and make it flex into how they want to. And from what we saw in Jerez in particular, I mean, on the run down to Pedrosa Corner, the amount of times a pair of them had it sideways, but the fact that they had such great results there, the good thing for them was, not only was it stylish, not only was it sideways, but it was fast and successful.
Yeah, and that all comes down to the impact that Jack had coming from Ducati, and particularly his crew chief as well, Christian Pupelin, coming across at the same time. They just applied what they knew at Ducati, the tried and tested method, adapted it to the KTM way, mixed it a little bit with the KTM philosophy, and bang, then they all of a sudden found this break in performance where they could get the bike to step out and still give them the stop performance that they needed while taking some pressure off the front tyre, which we know that for years dogged the KTM. One of their biggest weaknesses was getting that bike stopped, on the limit front end feeling all the time. And Jack came in, and that was one of the real big successes that he had with applying his riding style knowledge and also Christian Pupelin's knowledge as well. And it looked pretty epic.
Yeah, it did. I mean, amongst everything else, at top of the list is the fact that it looked good going fast, which really, for me, I think that should count for extra points. There should be a review panel awarding 5 bonus points for looking the best out on track. Glebka, another one where we need to get you to change your profile photo. Come on, there's far too much Formula 1 on this MotoGP show, saying that bike is looking very beautiful. Sorrentino saying, that's for sure a manufacturer who's fully committed with developing the bike. Glad to see them keeping on their path, looking for a winning bike, and that's absolutely right. Pit Byra, Francesco Guidotti, even Stefan Pira, the big boss of the Pira Mobility Group, time and time again say, we are not here to finish second. Yeah. We are here to win the World Championship.
Exactly.
And that is what they are desperately trying to do.
And they've done that in every discipline that they've gone into. I mean, it's only not too long ago that people ridiculed them when they really invested in the motocross program, and everyone said, oh, you can't get a steel chassis to win in motocross or supercross, you're crazy. And now look at it, it's the bike that's won the most championships in the last decade or something like that. And everything else that they do as well. They've found a way to succeed. And with KTM now in MotoGP, I mean, you can see just the commitment that they do have to go and succeed in MotoGP, because no one ever thought they would drop the steel chassis, and they've gone to the carbon fibre one, but certainly a lot. For Jack Gorse, from 1 to 10, how do you score the 22? How do I score it? I score it a 9, I would say.
A 9, wow. Yeah.
I think the only thing that holds me back from scoring it a 10 is that you say you don't like change. I like a little bit of change. I like to see just something that's a little bit new every year. It's kind of like football teams with their kits for each season. You get excited because you know it's going to be slightly different. I mean, sometimes they do mess it up, but largely a little bit of change, a little bit of freshness is good, I think.
A 9, solid score. I'm sure that the guys that designed the KTM bike will be rejoicing, champagne bottles popping on the fact that
the designer is a person that has a relatively easy job year on year.
I'm sure it's quite a well-paid job as well. One that maybe we should look at in the future. Definitely, they just took the blueprint from last year, looked at it for a few seconds, and went, "Yep, that'll do."
Twist.
Same
there
again.
We go. Bosh.
Lovely. There we go. Nice and easy. So that is a cracking job. In terms of KTM trying to find their way to the top, to the summit of MotoGP. We've mentioned Ducati as probably being the people to beat. Coming into last year, you would maybe say they were on a level par, maybe just ahead the Constructors' Championship says they were just ahead of Aprilia. From what we've seen in Sepang, can Aprilia sort of join them and be on their same level, or are KTM just a fraction ahead of them at this moment?
You'd have to say that KTM are a fraction ahead. I mean, particularly with the performances that Pedro Acosta is putting in on his gas, as we all know, it's essentially a KTM, or it is a KTM. You'd have to say that KTM are ahead of Aprilia, but Aprilia is a little bit of a weird case, and we'll get into this more, I'm sure, when we do their presentation not too long from now anyway. But they're a little bit there's some mixed signals from Aprilia this year, and I think that ultimately leads you to the assumption that KTM look more set, more solid. They've got their base and grounding, and they look really, really close to the level of Ducati. Where Aprilia, you'd say, if you're looking at Aleix Espargaro, they look like they're almost with them. But then, if you look at the other side of it, with Miguel Oliveira, who's on a 24 course in the Trackhouse outfit, but then also on the other side of the Aprilia garage with Maverick Vinales, who is saying the complete opposite things to Aleix. And you could maybe say, us knowing what kind of Maverick is like, he's a little bit of an enigma, and always there's perhaps more complaints coming out from Maverick's side than maybe there is from Aleix. But the fact that Miguel is also kind of backing up maybe some of the things that Maverick is saying is a bit of a tricky situation. That's where you're getting these mixed signals from. So I'd definitely say that KTM are second in the pecking order at the minute, and Aprilia are below them.
Of course, on the timesheets, Aleix Espargaro was the closest man to the top four Ducatis of Bagnaia, Martin, Bastianini and Alex Marquez as well. But testing timesheets never really tell the full story.
No.
And
you go into that. Last year, we all thought Aprilia were going to be right there with Ducati. Didn't turn out that way throughout the year.
So who knows? Maybe it'll be the opposite this year, and they'll find something later on in Qatar, which of course is coming your way at this time next week, Monday and Tuesday, 2 days, the final 2 days of testing before the season gets underway. And you feel 2 important days as well for everyone to get fully locked in and loaded ahead of the season getting underway. Normally what we see over those 2 days in Qatar is 1 day just to finalise the package, make sure that they're fully happy with their motorcycle for the entirety of the season, and then they'll spend that final day almost using it as the first day of free practice for the Grand Prix.
Yeah, I mean, that last day of testing is always kind of a day where it's just, you're confirming very, very tiny things right at the end, and just some small double checks, but really it is, as you say, a chance to go and use that session as just, right, let's go and put in some standard free practice runs like we would do, go through procedures, get the rider kind of back into the weekend working mode, and then all of a sudden it's like, bang, you go into the race weekend and it's, okay, I'm ready to go.
A lot of talk last year about KTM pushing extremely hard to try and get 2 extra motorcycles on the grid. That, of course, in the end, didn't come to anything. Already, Pit Byra actually changing his tune ever so slightly at the gas launch, saying that if they feel they need or they would like to have 2 more bikes and they can take profit from it, then absolutely it's something that they will look at. Do you think we could see a third KTM team going into 2025?
Well, anything's possible. I mean, it also then comes down to whose contract's up. Of course, the VR46 team, their contract is up with Ducati at the end of the year. Are they realistically going to switch over to KTM machinery? It doesn't seem like it, but you never know. There could be other teams that look at what's possible for that. And of course, there's also those extra 2 grid slots there that at some point we imagine will be filled. But the other thing now is having 4 bikes is a nice number. Okay, so of course you compare them to Ducati, which have the double number of that with 8 bikes, and you see how well that's working for them. It's always going to help having those 2 extra bikes with the data. But I think the other thing as well that you have to look at is Ducati can only fund 4 bikes in full factory kit. Have them there at the time. KTM last year when of course, the Gas branding came in with the Tech 3 squad, said that, yeah, this is a factory team. But realistically, they got parts a little bit later than we possibly expected, or at least later than what KTM said at the start of the year, where they said that they would get those parts straight away in the season. It already looks like this year they're better at that. They've got that supply chain sorted, and it seems that they really do now have 4 full factory bikes that are going to have the same equipment at the same time this year. And I think that is more important than having the 2 extra bikes, in my viewpoint anyway. Those 2 extra bikes for sure would help massively. I mean, you see the way the Ducati work, applying different electronic strategies to the year-old bike, and that definitely helps. But if KTM can't get those 2 extra grid slots, then for sure the no-brainer thing is to make sure that you have 4 properly factory bikes and 2 full-on factory teams out there.
Yeah, it will be interesting in terms of contracts that do come up. VR46 in the headlines at the moment. We know that Ducati, there's interest there to renew them. Yamaha have made no secrets about the fact that they would love to be able to poach Valentino Rossi's squad away from Ducati. Trackhouse, who of course have just entered, they're not going anywhere. They'll be staying with Aprilia. LCR, whose contract does come up at the end of the year, but have got such a long-standing relationship with Honda. You'd be surprised to see them potentially go elsewhere, especially with the effort that Honda are putting in now as well. So, as a result, questions turn to the possibility of Pramac. Surely not, with such a great relationship that they've got with Ducati, getting so close to the World Championship last year, or maybe even Grassini as well. But given the fact that they've been so successful, that seems unlikely as well. So maybe that's one that very quickly into the year we see there's not actually going to be that much change.
Yeah, no, I agree on that. Where do I think KTM will finish this season? If you're talking about KTM as a whole, I think their goal has to be second in the Constructors' Championship. If you're talking about the riders individually, first thing that comes to mind is Brad Binder. I think the goal for Brad this year has to be top 3 in the World Championship. He has to be better than what he was last year. Of course, we know that means he's got to beat the likes of Marc Marquez, Marco Bezzecchi on a Ducati, all these sorts of riders that are going to be incredible. But I think he can do that with the bike that KTM has under them now, taking steps forward with electronics, the carbon chassis. I'm sure there'll be an updated version of that they're already testing. They have to step forward. If you don't step forward in racing, then kind of what's the point almost? Jack Miller's a maybe more tricky case, because you don't really know what you're going to get with Jack. You know that at some points in the year he's going to have really, really strong rides. But with so many Ducatis now, and also with Marc Marquez coming in, Alex Marquez will without a doubt be better this year, more consistency. Fabio Di Giannantonio has already proven that his incredible end to last year was no fluke, and it wasn't just a thing that he was running on the adrenaline of maybe not having a ride for this year. He looks like he's going to be a top 6 championship contender, really. So all of a sudden you've got Jack Miller looking at kind of, right, a great year for him would be, I think, top 6 in the championship, kind of roughly where we see him usually anyway. But you almost wouldn't be surprised that if he's scrapping and struggling to be in the top 10, So it's tricky. But for sure, KTM Constructors, they've got to be second.
Yeah, for sure. That's going to be their target this year. Jack, thank you very much for your time. Great to chat things through.
Yeah, you too.
Enjoy Qatar in a week's time.
Yeah,
see you out there.
I'll actually see you there. Yeah,
you shall.
Yeah.
Very good. Right, Jack.
All right, see you later.
Anyway, thank you very
Ciao,
much. Good to be able to get his thoughts after his brilliant insight in Sepang for the Sepang test over those 3 days of running. And as I say, he'll be back for After the Flag this time next week. For Lewis Sotheby and Elliot York back in the studio with Jack Gost and Simon Crafar once again on site, bringing you all of the analysis in those final 2 days of testing. MotoGP Authentics, once again, in 2024 we'll be giving you the opportunity to get some of the most exclusive MotoGP merchandise and memorabilia, including your name on the checkered flag, to be written on the Austrian Grand Prix checkered flag, which of course was won last year in fine form by Pecco Bagnaia ahead of a certain Brad Binder. So if you want to get involved in that and have an exclusive bit of merchandise and memorabilia, then go and check out MotoGP Authentics to be able to have a look at that, plus lots of other bits as well. I saw in Sepang a couple of days ago. Joanne Mir was there signing lots of different merch for you to get your hands on. Right, opportunity now to chat away with some of the key men for the Red Bull KTM factory racing squad. First up, a man it's always good fun to chat to, Jack Miller. Morning, or should I say evening, Jack. How are you? Great to get the chance to chat with you. All good in Australia?
All good down here, mate. It's nice and warm. I feel like I'm still in Sepang, but no, going good, mate. Thank you.
Are you rested up and recovered after Sepang? I'm sure those 3 days certainly gave the body a shock.
Yeah, it always is. But no, feeling good. I felt like I got better and better as the 3 days went on. I was stiff after that first day, a lot of cramps, as you always do get there. But at least the body was pretty acclimatized after being here at home. But no, a couple of days to think about it now, and super keen to get back on the bike again now in Qatar for the 2-day test there.
End of this, I want you to give the answer, not straight away, because this is one for the guys at home, but we've got a quiz question, which is based around you. So I hope you do know the answer to it. Which band are you a big fan of? Is it Crowded House or Pink Floyd? We'll let the guys at home guess that one, and then you can let us know in around 5 minutes' time before we say goodbye to you. In terms of Sepang, it looked as though it was 3 very, very busy days. Now that you've had a bit of time to reflect, happy with the work done?
If you're going to tell me I was going to do a 57 and not mention anybody else's times, I would have been, over the moon prior to the test. But obviously, they were rapid. So 57 probably didn't look that great. But no, I mean, I'm happy. As you said, a lot of work to be done. A lot of laps done, a lot of different variations of our bike. You saw all different shapes and sizes of it. But no, it was a good test, a really positive test for me. I felt good on the bike. We've been working a lot in terms of electronics and so on. And no, it was a massive improvement to basically hit the ground running. I think all 4 bikes sort of hit the ground running. Which is a massive boost for us coming into the season, because obviously going to tracks now that we've been to before and sort of knowing where to start ballpark is a big bonus for us coming into a race weekend, especially with MotoGP, with how tight it is at the moment.
A few people have mentioned to me that you seem fitter and leaner than ever before. Someone even told me that a lot of riders are going to be jealous with the winter training you were able to do. Have you done something slightly different this year to get ready for the new season?
Yeah, I've been doing my training myself for the last 12 years. I think I've been a professional, sort of going off my gut instinct, how I feel and stuff like that, and decided to switch it up at the end of last year with the help from the guys from Red Bull, and pretty much straight after Valencia, flew to Austria, did a heap of tests, and from that day just started working with a trainer out there, and then also with a guy back here in Australia as well in terms of using the gym, because it's not really, Jim and I never really got along before, so just try to switch it up a bit this year, kind of leave no stone unturned. I've been busy winter or summer for us, but I've been getting out a lot of early mornings. Ruby's been putting in the double shift because I've been spending that much bloody time on my bicycle, but between that and the gym, I'm feeling good. I feel leaner than I ever have been, and definitely highly motivated, and I think I'm going to have to be with all these young blokes coming in and going to be pushing us along, so no time like the present.
Yeah, you mentioned the young kids coming in. I mean, the level in MotoGP, it definitely never gets any slower. You mentioned the presentation, that you love being written off, you love being told that you can't do something. How much of a fuel and how much does that motivate you? Because it seems to be that whenever anybody in the media, the fans, whoever it may well be, does do that, you always seem to be able to go out and prove them wrong.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way, and I'm really trying to find a way to make that a permanent thing, not get comfy with myself, not try and get content, I guess you could say, be happy with how things are going. The darling, don't come back. So no, just she's checking on the baby. You're on the.
She could come and say hello. Don't worry.
But no, just trying to understand what that is and try and put it basically in practice throughout the whole year, I think.
We've got some fan questions for you, Jack. A couple of guys got in touch with us on social media to have some questions to fire your way. First one coming from Lautaro, wanting to know what song or songs, plural, that you listen to before a race. Do you have a certain playlist you'll always stick on?
It sort of changes from race to race. There's definitely no set playlist. It's sort of what I'm feeling at that moment. A lot of Alice in Chains, a lot of Tool recently. You can't go wrong with The Offspring, bit of Red Hot Chili Peppers. There's a lot of sort of that era, and then even sometimes throwing it back to some Iron Maiden or some there's definitely a few things that go quite a way back. Some Black Sabbath for sure. So it's a variation of everything.
I like that's right in my wheelhouse as well. So high energy that I'm sure will get you going. If I'm ever out running, I'll stick to something very similar as well. Your favourite victory meal? So you've jumped on the top step, you've sprayed the champagne. Where you heading for a victory meal?
We don't generally get to go to your first choice, let's say. I mean, my ultimate victory meal would be going to a fantastic steakhouse and treating myself to a very beautiful piece of steak. But I'll settle for McDonald's, I guess you could say, because we're generally heading to the airport, and that's about the quickest and easiest thing to get. You're pretty knackered as well, so something short and sweet.
Big Mac after success on a Sunday. We asked at the start for the guys at home to try and answer this one. Which band are you a fan of, Crowded House or Pink Floyd? 24% of you have said Pink Floyd. 76 got it wrong. I'm surprised. I thought people would have
I'm a fan of Crowded House too. I mean, you've put two great things. I mean, a great Kiwi band like Crowded House. I can understand how everyone is. The wife's got to go back to the baby 1 second.
No
the little
problem.
ones cry. You'll be right. I'm a fan of both. So depends.
We won't
on the
keep
mood,
you.
I guess.
Absolutely, we won't keep you long, Jack. I can hear Pip in the background. How was first Christmas with the family?
Unreal, mate. The family's been fantastic. Pip, I think she's the only child I know. We cruise around on the motorbike in the afternoon, and I think she's the only child I've ever seen fall asleep on the front of a dirt bike, just putt along in a little 50. So, starting her young. I think she'll be right to go here shortly, but no, she's going mad now, flipping over and carrying on, and she'll be up running around in no time.
Jack, we'll let you go. Daddy duty calls. Great to catch up. We'll see you in Qatar, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thank you. Cheers, guys.
Great to chat away with Jack. A big year ahead, and he looks, as we said, fitter, leaner, readier than before. A slight change in his fitness programme as well to make sure that he is 100% ready to go in 2024. Right, from one side of the box to the other, I think that right on cue, we've got Brad joining us. Good morning, Brad. How are you?
I'm all good, thanks. And yourself?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Very good. We have a quiz question from the fans before we get stuck into how things went in Sepang for you. Don't tell us just yet, but at the end we need to know whether you're a player of the drums or the guitar. And I mean, if we can get a rendition as well, that'd be great. But I imagine you might not have one close. And of course, we were just chatting with Jack there. A big winter for him. It was a pretty big winter for you as well. And this is why, before we get chatting, let's just check this one out, Brad. Now, I don't know if we were able to hear the audio there, unfortunately, but right at the start of it, you got the dates mixed up. I'm not a married man, Brad, but I feel as though it's a pretty important thing to get the date of the wedding right. I'm all about second chances. So, how was the big day? When was it? And how do you reflect on it now, a few months on?
Well, yeah, for sure. For me, December was very cool. It was awesome to get married. And yeah, after that moment, I think I'll never forget that it's the 9th of December, not the 8th, because I got warned. But yeah, in general, it's been super cool. Everything's been nice. Had an awesome off season, and yeah, just been really just waiting to come back to Europe, get back to action.
A few days on from Sepang now. Ask Jack how he reflects on it. What about you? What did you make of the 3 days of running there for you?
For me, Sepang was actually a really positive test. We started off the first day purely just trying to get back up to speed, get my riding back up to where it should be again. And yeah, from Saturday morning, when we put in tires, I was able to put in a really good lap time. Or Saturday morning. The second day in the morning, I was able to be a lot faster straight away. And from there, we just started testing, different aero,
In terms of what you're able to do, Brad, I mean, the lap times, the level was ridiculously high. The fact that full riders were able to go into the 156s was mind-boggling, given the fact that we were only in 157s 18 months ago for the very first time. I mean, what's that like, going out and going under the lap records, the pole position time from 3 months ago, and seeing that full riders have broken newer ground?
Yeah, it's insane because it's clear we made a big step forward ourselves, but it seems so have the other guys. So it's always cool to see our MotoGP is always just stepping up and the level just keeps rising. And I felt like our bike is working much better than it has previously, and we found some small things which made quite a big difference for me. So now it's just all about really putting all the small finer details together. And yeah, I don't think we're far off at all.
It was a big year last year, 4th in the World Championship, podium, sprint victories. How much did you learn fighting at the front on a more regular basis last year?
Well, for me, last year was really a good year for us. We had a lot of good days. We were able to fight for the podium on most weekends. But yeah, I personally made a lot of mistakes. I crashed a lot more than I normally would, and yeah, I let a lot of opportunities slip. But yeah, I think going forward, I'm really excited to see how we can manage the season. With all the experience from last year, I think now we know we're in a much more competitive window, and I think there's room for us to be even stronger this season.
We've got a couple of questions from the fans for you, Brad, which will fire your way. First one comes courtesy of Alex, wanting to know what your favourite sport to follow is outside of MotoGP.
Everything I follow is always related to motorsports. So my favourite thing at the moment, especially, is to watch the Supercross and follow how the boys are getting on that side of the world.
Well, after you gave England a beating in the World Cup last year, I'm extremely pleased that you didn't say rugby there. Next one comes in from Chiamvara, wanting to know your favourite victory meal.
To be honest, I don't really have a victory meal. I'm really a chicken and rice kind of guy, and I don't like eating rubbish, so I just like to stick to my same eating routine, and I don't really fade off of it too far.
In terms of the quiz that we put to you at the start, let's take a look at that to make sure that we've got it right. 100%, everyone going with guitar, and that's right as well. I didn't know that. Are you pretty handy on the guitar?
No, I'm absolutely useless. But yeah, when I was a kid, I went for a few lessons, and as I've got older, whenever I've got bored, I've tried to pick one up and see and try to remember my same two little little tunes that I could remember from a kid. But I like the look of guitars, so I bought a whole lot of them, and I like collecting them a little bit, but can't play them to save my life.
Acoustic, electric, and what are we playing as well? If you had to pick a song to learn to play, what are we going for?
To be honest, but I know like little sections of a lot of little songs, but nothing. I can't play one full song through. So yeah, I've got a bit of work to do in that area. But yeah, it's for me, it's cool just to chill out and do something different.
Yeah, no Johan Zarco just yet, but I feel with work over the year we can maybe get a little duet going between you two. Johan on the piano, on the keys, and then you strumming away on the guitar. I think that'd be a good event.
Definitely not. Definitely not at that level, I can assure you.
Brad, a pleasure as always to get the chance to chat away. Glad to see you looking well and ready for the new year. Catch up in a few days in Qatar.
All the best. Thanks so much, guys, and catch you soon.
Cheers, Brad. Another man that is looking extremely ready to go in 2024, especially now that we've had the Sepang test out of the way. You can just tell that both riders are chomping at the bit to get the opportunity to get back on the bike again, and I'm sure get the season officially underway. Not very good at being patient, MotoGP riders. They want to get out there and race as soon as possible. From one side of the garage to the man in charge of them all, the big boss himself. I believe that joining us live from Italy now, we've got Francesco Guidotti. Francesco, looking well in your office. How are you? Nice and relaxed after what was, I'm sure, a pretty busy 3 days in Malaysia?
Yeah, I mean more than three, because I was there also for the shakedown, and yeah, it was 10 days very intense and of testing and interesting days. We kick off somehow the season, so back on track.
Just looking at the timesheets, I mean, we spoke with both Jack and Brad about it, just how fast everybody was. In terms of the levels, do you feel that you guys, after those 3 days, I know difficult to say, but are you any closer to Ducati this year, do you feel?
Difficult to say. We know where more or less we are, and it's always difficult to know where the contenders are. So it's always the biggest question mark, what you can do, what you have done during the winter, and once back on track, you can see the level. I think we moved forward, but also our contenders look like they didn't rest a lot during the winter. So yeah, there's still 2 days of testing, and then we will see.
Long season coming up, 21 Grand Prix, 21 sprints, a very, very long World Championship. How difficult does that make your job to try and focus, I imagine, on going race by race rather than looking at what is going to be a huge year?
I mean, it's we have to take day by day and race by race. This is, I think, the best way to face the championship. 21 races. Long season, but I think we get used to it. Once you set up the target, then you have to run. Yeah, there's always a big motivation to when we start, and then always a bigger and bigger motivation once we are on the way. So this job is not I mean, you choose this job, so it's not a big sacrifice. I mean, it's a huge motivation, and we have a target very well set, and we are trying to do everything possible to catch it.
Let's talk about both your riders then. Firstly, Brad and what he was able to do in Sepang. He's not known as a tester, is Brad. He likes to go out and race. That's where you feel he's at his very best. So given that, how impressed were you with the fact that he could be so close to that new unofficial lap record?
I mean, we improve. As I said, we improve a lot compared to last year, and this is important. And also the approach of Brad is a little bit different than before. Every time you set a limit, like last year he was fourth, best results ever in MotoGP for him. He want to step ahead, and you always have to change a little bit something. The important is the combo. I mean, the riders feeling with the bike we supply. So we have to find the best combo possible to fight constantly on top three.
About a change, is that how you managed the weekend? What is it? Talk us through that slight change that Brad's going to make this year.
But also the mental approach and the self-confidence he can have after last season. Now I think he trusts more on our bike. He trusts more on the people around, and of course he has to trust more on himself. So it's more than the speed. More than the speed, he has to he show us that the approach at the test was slightly different.
For Jack, yeah, for sure. I think now into what will it be? His fifth full season in MotoGP. Definitely got the experience to play into that now. For Jack on the other side, just had the chance to chat with him. From what we heard in Sepang, I'm not sure I've ever seen a more motivated, a fitter, a leaner, a more hungry Jack. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, you never know what expected from Jack. His nickname Thriller is not by chance. I mean, Jack is Jack, and he could be able to do everything and nothing at the same time. So everything is almost in his own hands, and we will try to support him in every way is possible. But yeah, Jack is Jack. There's very few words to add.
Already he's sort of fronted in a roundabout way the obvious speculation saying that he's more than happy for people to write him off and he wants to go out and prove everybody wrong. How much does that say about his character, that he loves to have those doubters out there and for him to go out and have that fire in the belly?
I don't know if he really likes or not, because sometimes it's very difficult to understand what he has in his mind. But I think also he's in a phase of life where he has to make a big decision, and as I said, he's on his own hand. And yeah, I mean, he's almost 30, and for a rider, he's still pretty young if he wanna continue to ride on a certain level. But as he said, also there's the younger are coming very quickly, and so he has to behave this year, maybe as he never did before.
In terms of that behavioural change, is that sort of playing into the team effort? How do you think he needs to act?
He's the best one on team effort. He's the master. Always been perfect on with the team and with the teammate. Yeah, it's always when you reach a level, then it's always a matter of mental approach. So he has to be really brave and really constant and really smart to use the correct mental approach to the season. All the speculation about the riders market, it's has to be forgotten.
Absolutely, and well, I'll try my best not to play into that, but it's my job sometimes to ask about it. Just finally, second in the Constructors' Championship last year, fourth in the Riders' Championship with Brad. A simple question, but what is the target this year? What is possible?
Everything is possible. We didn't set any low target. We want to look at the top target and try to get it. So will be even more difficult this year. We always say the same every single years at the beginning and during the season, but the level of MotoGP is getting crazy every year, and the level of the riders and technology and all the efforts from the manufacturer. So we try. We will try. We will try, and we will fight for it. We are not alone, and so this is the challenge. But I think we can do something better than last year.
Francesco, pleasure as always to chat away. That cowboy hat over your left shoulder looks pretty good. Hopefully we'll see you in pit lane with it on in Austin in a few months' time.
Thank you.
Rest up. See you in Qatar. Thank you.
See you. Bye. Ciao, ciao.
Great to chat with Francesco Guidotti as ever, one of the big personalities in the paddock. Do have fun chatting to him in pit lane because he's always able to offer a great insight, and you feel as though that with the KTM squad in the position that they're in at the moment, then there'll be lots of opportunity to chat with him this year. Right, before we say goodbye then, let's take a look at some final comments from you guys. From Quattro, is the Gas team getting the same hardware as the factory team this year? Yes, they are. At this current moment anyway, the bikes are, or will be, come Qatar, exactly the same. Of course, they ended last year without the carbon chassis, which both Jack and Brad had, but at the start of this year at the Sepang test, both Augusto Fernandez and Pedro Acosta did have that, the same aero package as well, the new engine which has been slightly refined. So yeah, at this current moment, the Gas guys will start the year with the same spec machinery, the same hardware as the KTM boys. Gilles saying, nice presentation. Well, thank you very much, Gilles. I appreciate that. I'm not sure whether you're speaking to us or to the KTM boys, whoever it was, boys and girls, I should say. Whoever it was, thank you very much indeed. Right, before we leave you then, let's take a quick look at what's to come in MotoGP over the next week. This time next week, Monday, we will be live for After the Flag. You can enjoy that with the MotoGP app. Of course, we'll have our live text, we'll have After the Flag streaming live, you've got live timing, you've got the report at the end of the day, all of the interviews, all of the features at the MotoGP app, the best way to be able to stay fully up to date with the final 2 days of testing, which starts this time next week. In terms of team presentations coming your way, let's take a look at what is to come over a very, very busy 6-day period. We're back with you same time tomorrow for the Repsol Honda launch. Then on Thursday, we'll be with you for the LCR Honda launch. The Castrol and Idemitsu squads will be chatting live on the show to Johan Zarco and Takaki Nakagami. And then on Sunday, just ahead of the car tests getting underway, as they usually do, Aprilia will be live from the Losail International Circuit to present both Aleix Espargaro and Maverick Vinales. Then we've got the Qatar test, a little bit of a gap before things are rounded off, our 11th and final one for the Prima Pramac Racing Squad, where hopefully we'll have Franco Morbidelli there and we can chat away to him and see how he's doing. And of course, Franco won't be in Qatar for the test, and we wish him all the very best for his recovery. We're not chatting to Francesco, he has left us, but it was a fantastic chat, as was Jack Miller, as was Brad Binder, as was Chris Vermeulen, as was Jack Gorst. A very busy show as the Red Bull KTM Factory Racing Squad get their 2024 underway. They were at a stress to tell us that they were adrenaline, they were top speed, they were cutting edge, but the big question is, will they be world champions? The closest to Ducati last year. Can they go one better this year? Let's find out. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.